The whole class heard Tyler Morrison call me a smoking hot idiot that September morning, but only I heard the ghost of my FBI supervisor whispering, "Let them think you're prey." Madison. Predators always reveal themselves. I stood at the whiteboard, my back to 32 teenagers, writing out a differential equation that would have stumped half my colleagues at MIT. My hand didn't shake. Not when Tyler's phone camera clicked. Not when his buddies snickered. Not even when I heard him whisper to Connor Davis, "Dude, she probably copied that from the teacher's manual." "Miss Harper," a voice cut through the mockery. "Ashley Chen, front row. Notebook pristine. Is that application related to cryptography?" I turned, catching Tyler mid-smirk. "Excellent observation. Ashley, this particular equation, nobody cares, nerd." Tyler interrupted. "We get it. You can Google." The room temperature seemed to drop. Other teachers might have sent him to the office. Other teachers hadn't spent 3 years tracking digital predators who thought they were invisible. "Mr. Morrison," I said, my voice staying light, almost musical. "Since you're so engaged today, would you like to solve it?" His lacrosse buddies hooted. Tyler strutted to the board like he owned the building, which, given his father's donations, wasn't far from true. He grabbed the marker with the same confidence he probably grabbed everything in life. "This is..." He stared at the numbers like they might rearrange themselves into something familiar. "It's obviously..." "Take your time," I encouraged. Behind him, Connor was already uploading something to his phone. Tyler's marker squeaked against the board. Random numbers. A equals sign that led nowhere. His neck flushed red beneath his collar. "This is stupid," he finally announced, throwing the marker down. "When are we ever going to use this in real life?" "When you're trying to secure financial data," I replied, "or protect personal information from hackers, or verify the authenticity of digital communications. But you're right, if you're planning to coast through life on daddy's money, you probably won't need it." The class held its breath. Nobody talked to Tyler Morrison like that. Nobody. His jaw tightened. "At least I won't be stuck teaching high school math at 25. 26, I corrected. "And I chose to be here." "Right." His smile turned sharp. "Because so many MIT graduates dream of teaching calculus in Connecticut." Ashley's pen stopped moving. Several students looked up from their phones. How did he know about MIT? "Did your research? Did you..." I kept my tone conversational. But inside, I was mapping the battlefield. Tyler had done opposition research. Interesting. "My dad knows people," Tyler shrugged. "Said you were some kind of computer genius who couldn't hack it in the real world. Probably got the job because Principal Rodriguez needed to fill his diversity quota young. Pretty teachers photograph well for the school website." Connor shifted uncomfortably. Even Tyler's crew knew he'd crossed a line. "That's a fascinating theory," I said. "Let's test it. Everyone take out a blank sheet of paper." Groans rippled through the room. "Pop quiz," Tyler protested. "You can't." "I can, actually. Question 1. Explain how the equation on the board could be used to decrypt intercepted communications. You have 10 minutes. While they wrote, or in Tyler's case, stared murderously at blank paper, I remembered my last day at the bureau. "You're seriously leaving to teach teenagers?" Agent Sarah Chen had asked, incredulous. "After the Patterson case, Madison, you're the best analyst we have." "The Patterson case is exactly why I'm leaving," I'd told her. "We caught him after he destroyed 13 kids' lives through cyberbullying. 13 kids who might have been saved if someone had taught them and their classmates to recognize the signs earlier." The timer on my phone chimed. Pencils down. I collected the papers, glancing at each one. Ashley's answer was impressively thorough. Most students had made genuine attempts. Tyler's paper contained a crude drawing I chose to ignore. These will be graded by tomorrow, I announced. Mr. Morrison, please stay after class. The bell rang. Students flooded out, but I caught the way they looked at Tyler, not with the usual admiration, but with something closer to pity. He'd been publicly stumped by the dumb teacher. Tyler slouched against a desk, arms crossed. Connor hesitated by the door. You can go, Connor, I said gently. This won't take long. When we were alone, I pulled up a chair across from Tyler. Not behind my desk, that would be a power play. Beside him, equal level, like we were having a real conversation. You're angry, I observed. I'm not. You're angry, and you're scared, and you're expressing both through aggression. It's textbook, really. Your father's a powerful man who values intelligence above all else. Your mother left when you were 14, yes. I did my research too. You've built your entire identity around being untouchable. But deep down, you're terrified that you're not smart enough, not good enough, that everyone will leave you just like she did. Tyler's face had gone pale. You can't talk to me about... I'm not your therapist, Tyler. I'm your teacher. And I'm telling you this because I recognize the pattern. I've seen what happens when hurt people hurt people. It escalates. It destroys lives. Sometimes permanently. Are you threatening me? I'm teaching you. Consider this a free lesson in cause and effect. I stood, gathering my papers. Your homework for tonight is to research the term digital footprint. Everything you post online, every video, every comment, it's all permanent. Even the things you think you've deleted. Tyler grabbed his backpack, his usual swagger replaced by something uncertain. At the door, he turned back. Why didn't you just report me to Rodriguez? I smiled, and for the first time that day, it reached my eyes. Because, Mr. Morrison, I believe in education over punishment, but make no mistake, I'm a teacher, not a martyr. Push me too far, and you'll learn exactly why the FBI tried so hard to keep me. He left without another word. I waited until his footsteps faded before sinking into my chair. My hands were steady, but my heart raced like I'd just faced down a suspect. That night, I sat in my small apartment grading quizzes and monitoring social media. The video appeared at 8:43 p.m. If you're feeling that rush of what's going to happen next, hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these stories. And if you want to share where you're watching from, drop it in the comments below. For those who want to support more stories like this one, there's a thanks button right under this video. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps me bring you more inspiring tales of courage and standing up for what's right. Thank you for being here. Now, let's see what happens when push comes to shove. Tyler had filmed our entire interaction. Of course he had. But the editing was clever, too clever for a 17-year-old working alone. He'd spliced clips to make it seem like I'd stammered through explanations, confused myself, relied on notes. The caption read, MIT grad who can't even explain her own equation. Hot but dumb teacher, #math fail, Westfield. By 9 p.m., it had 3,000 views. By 10, 7,000. The comments ranged from cruel to obscene. She's definitely sleeping with Rodriguez to keep that job. I'd let her teach me some anatomy. Diversity hire confirmed. Probably fake MIT degree too. I screenshotted everything, downloaded the original, ran it through video analysis software I definitely wasn't supposed to still have access to. 3 jump cuts, audio layering. Someone with real editing skills had helped Tyler. Someone older. My phone buzzed. Sarah Chen. "Please tell me you're not cyber-stalking teenagers," she said without preamble. "Former colleague watching my viral debut." "I see." "Madison, this is serious. That kid's father is Daniel Morrison, as in Morrison Tech, as in major government contracts Morrison. What are you doing?" "My job." "Your job is teaching calculus, not whatever this is." I closed my laptop. Remember the Patterson case? Remember how his first victim's teacher noticed signs but didn't know what to do? How the second victim's parents saw the posts but thought it was just kid drama? How by victim 13? Patterson had perfected his system. Sarah sighed. "This isn't the same thing." "No," I agreed. "It's not. Because this time, the target knows exactly what's happening, and she's taking notes." "Madison, I have papers to grade. Sarah, give my love to the team." I hung up before she could argue further. Outside my window, suburban Connecticut slept peacefully, unaware that a war was brewing in the hallways of Westfield High. The next morning came wrapped in fog. I arrived early, finding Principal Rodriguez already in his office. "Madison," he looked tired. "I have seen the video." "Which version?" I asked, settling into the uncomfortable visitor's chair. "The original or the edited one?" His eyebrows rose. "There are multiple versions." I pulled out my tablet, showing him the analysis. 3 distinct edits. The original footage shows a very different interaction. "Would you like to see the manipulation techniques used?" Rodriguez studied the screen, his frown deepening. "This is sophisticated. Too sophisticated for a teenager working alone. Someone with professional experience helped him. Someone who knows exactly how to craft a narrative that will damage a teacher's reputation while staying just within the bounds of plausible deniability." "What do you want me to do?" "Nothing," I said, surprising him. "Not yet. I need to understand the full scope of what we're dealing with. How many students are involved? Who's really behind this? What's their end game?" "Madison, I can't let a student harass. You're not letting anything happen. I'm choosing to document rather than react. There's a difference." I leaned forward. "Juan, I've seen what happens when cyberbullying escalates unchecked, but I've also seen what happens when we respond too quickly, without understanding the full network. We cut off one head. 3 more appear. Let me do this right." He was quiet for a long moment. "The board won't like it if this escalates. The board will like it even less if we suspend Daniel Morrison's son without ironclad evidence and a clear pattern of behavior. Right now, it's his word against mine. And he has a carefully edited video that makes me look incompetent. I need more." "How much more?" "Give me 2 weeks. If I can't resolve this by then, we follow standard protocol." Rodriguez nodded slowly. 2 weeks, but Madison, be careful. The Morrisons don't just have money, they have influence, the kind that can end careers. I thought of the 13 kids whose lives Patterson had destroyed before we caught him. Of the suicide note we'd found just hours too late. Of the parents who still called Sarah, asking why we couldn't have done something sooner. "Some things are worth the risk," I said. Walking to my classroom, I passed clusters of students huddled around phones. Conversations died as I approached. Someone had printed screenshots from the video and taped them to my door. "Hot but dumb," scrawled in red marker across my nameplate. I left it all there. Evidence. Inside. Ashley Chen was already at her desk, 15 minutes early as always. She looked up as I entered, concern creasing her features. "Miss Harper, about the video, have you started the homework on linear transformations?" I interrupted gently. She blinked. "Yes, but excellent. I'm particularly interested in your thoughts on practical applications." Ashley studied me for a moment, then nodded slowly. Smart girl. She understood the classroom was neutral territory. Whatever happened online stayed online. Here, we did math. Students trickled in. Their energy different from yesterday. Anticipatory. They expected drama. A breakdown. Maybe. Tears. Something worthy of another viral video. Instead, I gave them elegant equations and patient explanations. I called on Tyler twice, legitimate questions he couldn't answer. Both times, I moved on without comment, letting his silence speak for itself. But I was watching, cataloging. Connor Davis kept checking his phone, fingers twitching toward the record button. Skylar Patterson, no relation to my old case, thankfully whispered with her cluster of athletes. And Tyler sat coiled like a spring, waiting for me to acknowledge the elephant in the room. I never did. By lunch, the video had 20,000 views and a hashtag, by final period. Someone had made a TikTok remix set to music. The comments had evolved from cruel to creative, each trying to outdo the last in humor or humiliation. My phone vibrated constantly, colleagues offering support, family members who'd seen the video shared by distant acquaintances. My mother, bless her, sent a text that simply said, "Should I be worried? Or are you handling this your way?" "My way," I replied. The fog had burned off by the time school ended, replaced by sharp autumn sunshine. I was packing up when Connor Davis appeared in my doorway. Alone this time. "Miss Harper." His voice cracked slightly. "Can I talk to you?" I gestured to a chair. "Of course." He sat on the edge, backpack clutched like armor. "The video? Tyler asked me to film it, but I didn't know he was going to edit it." Connor's head snapped up. "You know, I have eyes, Connor, and experience with digital manipulation. The question is, do you know who helped him?" The boy's conflict was written across his face, loyalty to his friend warring with what appeared to be genuine conscience. "Tyler's not a bad guy," he said finally. "He's just... His dad's been on him about grades. Said if he doesn't get his GPA up, no more lacrosse, no more anything. And then you showed up. And you're young and pretty and smart, and I think it reminded him of his mother." I finished quietly. Connor nodded miserably. "She was some kind of professor, super smart, left to teach at a university in California. Tyler's dad still calls her the ungrateful bitch who chose books over family." The puzzle pieces clicked into place. A father who devalued intellectual women. A son desperate for approval. A young female teacher who represented everything his trauma told him to destroy. "Connor," I said carefully, "what Tyler's doing isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. This kind of targeted harassment can escalate quickly. People can get hurt, careers ruined, or lives destroyed." "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "My sister got bullied online last year. Had to change schools. That's why I can't do this anymore. But I can't snitch on Tyler either. He's my best friend." "I'm not asking you to snitch. I'm asking you to think about who Tyler could become if someone doesn't intervene. Do you want to watch your best friend turn into the kind of person who destroys others for sport?" Connor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then showed me the screen. A group text from Tyler. Phase 2 tomorrow. Everyone ready. My blood chilled. Phase 2? What's Phase 2? I asked. I don't know. Connor stood abruptly. I have to go. I'm sorry. Miss Harper, I'm really sorry. He practically ran from the room, leaving me with more questions than answers. Phase 2. A coordinated attack. Multiple students involved. If this reminds you of someone, maybe a teacher who fought battles you never knew about, who smiled through public humiliation while privately strategizing how to protect not just themselves, but every student in their care. Remember that strength often looks like patience. And sometimes the best teachers are the ones who let their students learn from their own mistakes, even when those mistakes have teeth. That night, I sat in my apartment mapping connections on a whiteboard I'd bought specifically for this purpose. Tyler at the center. Connor, conflicted but complicit. Skylar and the athlete crowd. Eager participants. But who had edited the video? Who was teaching Tyler these tactics? My laptop chimed. New email. No subject line. The sender's address was a random string of characters. Inside, a single line, "Stop digging or we'll bury you." Attached was a photo. Me, at my apartment window, taken from the street below. Tonight, less than an hour ago. I closed the laptop and picked up my phone. Not to call the police, not to call Sarah. I called my mother. "Sweetheart," she answered on the second ring. "I was just thinking about you." "Mom," I said, staring at the photo of myself, vulnerable and unaware. "Remember what Dad used to say about bullies? That they're just scared children throwing tantrums?" "No, the other thing." She was quiet for a moment. "That the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing." "Yeah," I said softly. "That." "Madison, what's really going on?" I thought about lying, protecting her from worry. But she'd been married to a criminal psychologist for 30 years before cancer took him. She'd heard worse over dinner conversation than most people see in lifetimes. "I'm doing what Dad would do," I finally said. "I'm refusing to do nothing." After we hung up, I uploaded the threatening email to 3 different secure servers. Documentation, evidence, breadcrumbs for whatever investigation might follow. Then I opened my lesson plan for tomorrow and began writing equations that had nothing to do with math and everything to do with justice. Phase 2 was coming good. So was I. Phase 2 arrived at 7:43 a.m., disguised as concern. Miss Harper, Skylar Patterson, stood at my classroom door. Her usual athlete's confidence replaced by something that looked almost like worry. "Principal Rodriguez wants to see you. Like, immediately." I set down my coffee, noting the slight tremor in her hands. "Thank you. Skylar, did he say what about—" "No, but—" She glanced over her shoulder where 3 other students lurked in the hallway. Phones poorly concealed. "There are some parents here. They look pretty upset." The walk to Rodriguez's office felt longer than usual. Students lined the hallways like spectators at a gladiator match, their phones tracking my every step. Someone had leaked that something big was happening. The digital vultures were circling. I found Rodriguez's office crowded with familiar faces. Daniel Morrison dominated the room, his $1,000 suit and practiced boardroom presence designed to intimidate. Beside him sat Tyler, playing the part of the wounded victim. 3 other parents I recognized from school events perched on hastily arranged chairs, their faces tight with manufactured outrage. "Miss Harper," Rodriguez began, his tone carefully neutral. "Please, have a seat." I remained standing, I prefer to stand. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I wasn't aware we had a meeting scheduled. Daniel Morrison's smile could have frozen helium. We don't need an appointment to address the systematic harassment of our children by a faculty member. Harassment? I kept my voice level, channeling every interrogation I'd ever witnessed. That's a serious accusation. I assume you have evidence. Evidence? Mrs. Patterson Schuyler's mother pulled out her phone. You mean besides the video of you humiliating Tyler in class, or the fact that you kept him after school for what he describes as a threatening conversation? Tyler recorded our private conversation. I turned to Rodriguez. I believe that's a violation of school policy, not to mention state law regarding consent for recording. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. His father's hand landed on his shoulder, a gesture that looked supportive but felt controlling. My son felt unsafe, Daniel Morrison stated. He had every right to protect himself. From a conversation about digital footprints and accountability, I pulled out my own phone. Would you like to hear the actual recording, unlike Tyler's edited TikTok videos? Mine captures the full context. The room went silent. Morrison's eyes narrowed. You recorded a minor without parental consent. No, Mr. Morrison, your son recorded our conversation. I simply made a backup of his recording when he posted it to a private group chat last night. The one where he discussed Phase 2 of his Plan 2. Quote, destroy the dumb bitch before midterms. Tyler went pale. I didn't. Tyler Morrison, Mason Brooks, Connor Davis, Schuyler Patterson, and 14 others. I continued, scrolling through my phone, all part of a coordinated harassment campaign that began the day I refused to let Tyler coast through my class on charm and family connections. Would you like me to read the messages where your son discusses the best angles to film up my skirt? Or perhaps the ones where he offers to pay someone to deep fake pornographic videos with my face? Mrs. Patterson gasped. Schuyler would never. Schuyler absolutely would, and did. I pulled up screenshots. She was particularly creative in her suggestions about how to make me cry on camera. Something about teachers being easy to break if you know their weak spots. Rodriguez held up a hand. Miss Harper, these are serious allegations. These are documented facts. I handed him a folder I'd been carrying, complete with timestamps, IP addresses, and metadata. Everything is there, including the origin point of the edited videos, which, incidentally, wasn't Tyler's computer. Daniel Morrison's composure cracked slightly. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm stating that the editing software used costs $1,200 and requires professional training. The techniques employed match those taught in Morrison Tech's summer internship program for digital media. The same program where Tyler spent last summer. The same program supervised by Morrison Tech's creative director, Marcus Webb. Should I continue? The silence stretched like a taut wire. Tyler stared at his father, something like betrayal flickering across his features. Dad, his voice came out small. Did you help edit? Be quiet. Morrison snapped. Then, to me, you can't prove anything. I don't have to prove it in court. Mr. Morrison, I just have to prove it to the school board and the media. Imagine the headlines, Tech CEO helps son cyberbully teacher. I'm sure your government contracts will love that publicity. Rodriguez stood. I think we all need to take a step back. No, I interrupted. We need to take several steps forward, into the digital age, into accountability, into understanding that actions have consequences, whether you're 17 or 47. My phone buzzed. Perfect timing. I glanced at the screen, then smiled. That would be the automated upload completing. Every piece of evidence I've collected is now backed up to 3 secure servers and 1 FBI evidence database that I still technically have access to. Past tense. Mr. Morrison, your window for making this disappear has closed. Morrison's face went from red to purple. You're threatening me. I'm educating you. Consider it a free lesson in cause and effect. I echoed my words to Tyler, watching them land like punches. Your son started this because he couldn't handle being intellectually challenged by a young woman. You escalated it because you couldn't handle your son facing consequences. But here's what neither of you calculated. I spent 3 years hunting predators who thought they were untouchable because of money, power, or technical sophistication. You're amateurs playing in a professional's sandbox. Tyler found his voice. I wanted to fit in, to be cool. Everyone was laughing, and it felt good to be the one making the jokes instead of being the joke. I turned to him, and for the first time since this began, I let him see past my teacher mask. Tyler, I know exactly how that feels. When I was your age, I was the weird kid who understood computers better than people. The girl who solved equations for fun. The target. But here's what I learned. Making others feel small doesn't make you bigger. It just makes you smaller in ways that matter. His eyes welled up. 17 years old. Captain of the lacrosse team. Terror of Westfield High. And he was fighting tears in front of his father. The Patterson case, I continued, knowing Rodriguez would recognize the name from the news. Started with one kid making fun of another online. Just jokes, they said. Just having fun. By the time we caught him, 13 teenagers were hospitalized for suicide attempts. 3 succeeded, all because nobody taught the difference between humor and humiliation. Mrs. Patterson had gone pale. Skylar, she's not a bad kid. She just followed the leader, like Connor Davis, who's been sitting in his car for the past hour, working up the courage to come forward. Like Mason Brooks, who deleted his social media accounts at 3 a.m. because he couldn't sleep. They're not bad kids. They're kids who made bad choices because nobody showed them better ones. Rodriguez cleared his throat. What are you proposing? Madison. I straightened, addressing the room, but watching Tyler. Full accountability. Every student involved writes a genuine letter of apology not to me, but to every teacher they've ever disrespected online. They'll research cyberbullying's impact and present their findings to the full student body. They'll spend 50 hours volunteering with organizations that support victims of online harassment. That's outrageous, Morrison began, but I cut him off. That's merciful. The alternative is suspension, college admission letters revoked, and potential criminal charges for harassment and cyberstalking. Your choice. Tyler wiped his eyes with his sleeve, a gesture so young it made my chest tighten. I'll do it. All of it. I'm sorry. Miss Harper. Really sorry. You're not dumb. You're probably the smartest person I've ever met. And that scared me because your mother was smart too, I said gently. And she left. The words hung in the air like a revelation. Morrison's mask finally shattered completely. Don't you dare! Mr. Morrison, your son needs to hear this. I kept my voice steady. Therapeutic. Intelligence in women isn't a threat unless you make it one. Your ex-wife didn't leave because she was smart. She left because you made her choose between her mind and her marriage. Don't make Tyler repeat your mistakes. Tyler was openly crying now. She tried to call last week. Dad told me not to answer. Morrison's hands clenched into fists. This is family business. This became my business when you helped your son target me because I reminded him of her. I pulled out one final piece of paper. This is Dr. Patricia Morrison's number. She's teaching at Stanford now. Brilliant mathematician. Tyler, you have her mind. Don't let anyone, not even your father, make you ashamed of that. The room erupted, Morrison threatening lawsuits, Mrs. Patterson demanding to see the evidence against Schuyler, Rodriguez trying to restore order. But I kept my eyes on Tyler, watching him carefully input his mother's number into his phone with shaking hands. That's when Connor Davis finally walked in, face blotchy but determined. "I want to tell the truth," he announced. "All of it." The next 2 hours blurred together. Connor's testimony, backed by screenshots he'd been secretly saving, other students trickling in, conscience finally outweighing fear. Ashley Chen arriving with a USB drive containing every deleted post, every removed video, every private message, because, of course, the smartest kid in class had been documenting everything too. "I was going to come forward," she told me quietly. "But you seem to have it handled." Still, I thought, backup evidence couldn't hurt. By noon, the full scope was clear. 23 students directly involved, 47 more who'd shared or commented. A network of harassment that would have destroyed a less prepared teacher. But I wasn't just any teacher. I was Madison Harper, MIT graduate, FBI analyst, daughter of a criminal psychologist, and apparently exactly the educator Westfield High needed. Rodriguez announced the consequences that afternoon. No suspensions, I'd argued against them, but mandatory education. A school-wide assembly on digital citizenship. A new policy on cyberbullying with real teeth. And yes, 50 hours of community service for the primary instigators. Tyler found me after school, alone this time. No phone, no friends, just a boy carrying the weight of his choices. "I called her," he said without preamble. "My mom. We talked for an hour." I continued grading papers, giving him space to fill. "She cried. Said she's been waiting for my call for 3 years. Said she left Dad, not me, but knew I wouldn't understand that until I was older." He slumped into a chair. "I'm supposed to visit her at Thanksgiving. Dad's furious, but I don't care anymore." "Growth is painful," I offered, "but not as painful as staying trapped in patterns that hurt you and everyone around you." "Did you really work for the FBI?" I smiled. "Does it matter? What matters is that I'm here now, teaching calculus and, hopefully, something more." "Like what?" "Like the fact that true strength isn't about tearing others down, it's about building others up, even when they've tried to demolish you." Tyler absorbed that. "The video, the real one, not the edited version, can I have a copy?" I raised an eyebrow. "I want to post it, with an explanation about how I manipulated it, why I did it, what I learned. Maybe it'll help someone else stop before they go as far as I did." "That's a brave choice." "It's the right choice." He stood to leave, then paused. "Miss Harper, for what it's worth, you're a great teacher. Not because you're smart, though you are, but because you saw who I could be, instead of just who I was." After he left, I sat in my empty classroom, finally allowing myself to feel the exhaustion I'd been holding at bay. My phone had hundreds of messages support from colleagues, interview requests from journalists who'd caught wind of the story, job offers from tech companies impressed by my handling of the situation. I ignored them all, except one. Sarah Chen had sent a simple text, "Proud of you, Patterson would be too." That night, I created my own video. No filters, no edits. Just me at my desk with my teacher's badge visible. "Hi," I began. "I'm Madison Harper, the hot but dumb teacher from Westfield High. Though I prefer young but strategic. This week, I learned that my students needed more than calculus lessons. They needed someone to show them that their digital actions have real-world consequences, that viral videos can destroy lives, that followers aren't friends if they're laughing at someone else's pain." I paused, thinking of Tyler's tear-stained face, Connor's courage, Ashley's quiet support. But I also learned that teenagers aren't monsters. They're mirrors, reflecting what we show them. If we model cruelty, they'll be cruel. If we demonstrate that intelligence is threatening, they'll attack intelligence. But if we show them patience, strategy, and the power of documented truth, they might just surprise us. The video went viral within hours, the right kind of viral. Messages poured in from teachers facing similar situations, parents struggling with their kids' online behavior, students who saw themselves in Tyler's story. A week later, Tyler's apology video had twice as many views as his original attack. He'd edited it himself properly this time, intercutting his confession with statistics about cyberbullying, interviews with students who'd been targets, and resources for getting help. Connor started a peer mediation program. Skylar volunteered at a crisis hotline. Even Morrison Tech announced a new initiative about ethical digital citizenship. Though Daniel Morrison's name was notably absent from the press release. And me, I kept teaching. Every morning, I wrote equations on the board. Every afternoon, I graded papers. But between the numbers and formulas, I taught something harder to quantify: the algorithm of human decency in a digital age. 6 months later, I received an unexpected email. Tyler Morrison, writing from Stanford, where he was visiting his mother over spring break. "Miss Harper," it read, "I solved that equation, the one from the first day. Mom helped me understand it. Turns out, it's beautiful when you see how all the parts connect. Kind of like people, I guess. Complex, but solvable if you're patient enough to work through the steps. Thank you for not giving up on the problem, even when the problem was me." I printed that email and hung it on my wall, next to my MIT diploma and my FBI commendation. 3 different chapters of my life, all leading to this: a classroom where bullies learn to build, where targets become teachers, and where everyone discovers that the most powerful equation is simple. Respect multiplied by accountability equals a future worth solving for. The next morning, I walked into AP Calculus to find a surprise. Someone had written on my board in neat, careful letters, "Miss Harper's class, where we learn math and life, hot takes, and smart solutions, welcome." Tyler stood by the board, marker in hand, grin sheepish but genuine. "Too much? Perfect," I said. "Now sit down, we have derivatives to master." And we did. All of us. Together, solving for X and sometimes asking why. Because that's what education really is, not just teaching students what to think, but showing them how to think. Not just preparing them for tests, but preparing them for a world where their choices echo in digital perpetuity. I thought of my father, the criminal psychologist who'd taught me to see patterns in human behavior. Of my mother, who'd raised me to stand firm in the face of bullies. Of my FBI colleagues, still fighting predators in the dark corners of the internet. They'd all shaped me into the teacher I'd become, someone who could face down a cyber attack with spreadsheets and strategy, who could turn humiliation into education, who could see past the bully to the broken kid beneath. As my students bent over their work, I opened my laptop to prep tomorrow's lesson. But first, I checked the school's anonymous reporting system I'd helped establish. 3 new reports of cyberbullying, 2 requests for help from students afraid to come forward. I smiled grimly. The work wasn't done. It might never be done. But every Tyler who learned empathy, every Connor who found courage, every Ashley who used their brilliance to protect rather than prove they were equations balancing in the right direction. Miss Harper. A freshman stood in my doorway, nervous but determined. I think someone's doing to me what Tyler did to you. Can you help? I pulled out a chair. Sit down. Tell me everything. And remember, documentation is your best friend. She sat, pulled out her phone with shaking hands, and began showing me the posts. Behind her, Tyler glanced up from his work. Our eyes met. He nodded once, then quietly moved his stuff to sit beside the freshman. Hey, he said softly, I know how this feels, but trust me, Miss Harper knows what she's doing. You're going to be okay. And in that moment, I knew every second of humiliation, every edited video, every sleepless night had been worth it. Because Tyler Morrison, former bully, recovering misogynist, son of a tech giant, had just become part of the solution. The equation balanced. Class dismissed. Phase 2 was coming good. So was I. And this time, I wouldn't be defending. I'd be teaching the most important lesson of Tyler Morrison's privileged life, that actions have consequences. And some teachers grade on more than just math.